Thank you for all the members who got this video early. If you want to be part of the early train or support the channel more, join my membership. Now back to your regular programming. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is your bi-weekly edible video on a topic that went into my head quite a long time ago. Like the bullet from 99 that's still lodged into my skull, might as well release it late than never. There's a lot of things that people consider a buff, and it's kind of became a word that has a fluid definition. Ruanmei as a pull is a quote-unquote account buff. Harmony MC, buffed break effect. Pure Fiction, buffed erudition. A character getting bigger numbers in the beta, even pulling an Eidolon or a Lycon is considered a buff. There's countless examples that I could go on and on about, but what about nerfs? In terms of characters, it's only ever been done in the beta cycle where nerfs are the bare minimum expectation in the first place. Rest in peace, Arlen. But in terms of enemies, they've nerfed some boss mechanics or just outright removed them. Aventurine boss was a 2-time victim of nerfs, and some enemy lineups were changed like Divergent Universe's Cirrus. But what if I told you that the biggest nerf is something you might not have known or remembered? What if I told you that this nerf was a buff to such a common trait that many meta characters would not have been good without it? What if I told you that this nerf was a earth-shattering 10% difference? This is a look back of the biggest nerf Starrail did on the live server, the Effect Res nerf. Effect res is very simple. When you try to land most debuffs, you have a base chance to land this debuff. Your base chance then gets put up against the enemy's effect res, which results in a different chance of landing than the base chance and is your real chance. If you have a 100% base chance debuff thrown against an enemy with 50% effect res, your real chance of landing that debuff is 50%. Effect hit rate will then modify that real chance. So in a case of a 50% real chance, having 100% effect hit rate will guarantee that the debuff will land at a 100% chance. Of course, immunities don't care and just make the chance 0% regardless. There is also crowd control res, which multiplicatively stack. Usually elites have 50% crowd control res, which taking in mind a 100% base chance and a 50% effect res. Adding a 50% crowd control res will make the real chances of crowd control debuffs to land become 25%, and the needed effect hit rate is now 300%. The TLDR version of what I just said is that effect res is multiplicative, and the more that there is res, there is less space for you to build anything other than EHR. With that understanding of effect hit rate and effect res, what exactly was the effect res nerf? Enemies above level 50 will start giving themselves more effect res until level 75. In version 1.0, the effect res at level 75 was 50%. To put that into context, look at this chart. While most debuffs sit at 100% base chance like Payload's defense down, the break debuff, which has a whopping base 150% chance, still only lands 75% of the time. And God save you if it was an entanglement and the enemy had a tiny crowd control res. Walt and March 7th, who have defensive profiles based on crowd control, would have much harder times in higher level endgame content due to the sheer scaling. It is quite ridiculous even for future units. Silverwolf needing even 100% EHR only to get a 70% chance of landing a bug is very expensive in substat space. That substat space could be better used for stats like speed. Same at Black Swan. If she released with this enemy effect res as a standard, she will sit at needing 150% effect hit rate just for an 80% chance for Arcana to splash. Just look at that substat count. Even Pela's is ridiculous. As a note, effect res down was not baked into any character's kit at that point. The most you get is Pela raising EHR by 10%, and that's probably why the nerf came in. In version 1.1, Silverwolf was set to release, and many people were not favorable of her current state of building her, which may have been the sign for the devs to start raking in more money, leading to the 50% effect res on level 75 to be shrunk down to 40%. This is not just an exclusive Silverwolf fix. Whether it be Fire MC's Taunt, Japard's Freeze, Sampo's DOT, or Welt's Slow, all of them got easier to land. The chart really shows how big this was. Pela's effect hit rate requirements to guarantee defense down is much more realistic and isn't locked to certain light cones. This is huge for her to use LCs like Resolution with defense down's unique scaling, or using light cones like Tutorial more liberally for energy. Similarly, the effect hit rate requirement for landing a break debuff might as well not exist, as it is a native 90%. Characters that would come out later like Luca, Shui, and Bootil have benefited from this change to this day. This would obviously also include Acheron, who preferred the debuff consistency, and characters like Gwynaifen, who lowered effect res, would practically obliterate any need for AHR due to their effect res down debuff. To show you how much you potentially lose on building AHR, look at this chart, showing the stats you could have built instead. Note that in this chart it only shows how much of a stat you get by distributing all the differential substats into that stat. So you could only get attack or speed, for example. You can't get all of them. Instead of wasting 6 substats to guarantee the break debuff, you could have 35.82% more break effect. Instead of wasting 9 substats to guarantee defense down, you could have 20.6 more speed. And instead of wasting 13 substats to guarantee Arcana, you could have 50% more attack on your substats. It would change the ever-widening archetype of debuff-reliant units forever. In retrospect, I fully believe that this was the biggest nerf and arguably the biggest buff in Star Rail's history, in beta or otherwise, and it all happened post-live servers. It's really wild to look back on it now and think of how many units that would have been affected by this. Good thing that they made this change so early that it has been a bit forgotten and lost to time. Anyways, I hope you guys liked that less than 10-minute retrospective video. We are on the chase for 5,000 subscribers. Do all the algorithm stuff if you want to see more of this, and I'll see you with a new topic hopefully later this week. This is bi-weekly after all, and bye.